name's Lorna. I come from Dundee in Scotland. I love being outside. I love being in nature. I love trees. I love the beach. I love the sound of the sea. I live with my partner. Life was just as good as it could be. He phoned me at work actually one day and said, "Lorna, it's cancer." And he didn't want anybody to know. So I was the only person who knew at that point. He didn't want his family to know. He didn't want his children to know. He didn't really want to hug me, or he didn't really want to come close. And I remember saying, "What's going on here? What's happening?" We both hug one another and like to touch one another, so it comforts both of us, I think. And that was the first sign of things change in that way. And I was very conscious too, because our sex life wasn't the only part of a relationship, but it was really good. And it was sad to think that that was starting to be affected. But, you know, it was a choice of life. It's, you know, in some ways it's a no-brainer, but it's a sadness that comes. And I was starting to feel, okay, now we really are into a different phase of our relationship. The loss of freedom and spontaneity that happens, you know, that sense of being able to just, you know, in the moment, no preparation, no thinking about it, just get together and have a really enjoyable experience. That's changed. But what people don't talk about, he didn't have surgery, he's not in hormone treatment, so he can still get erections, but there is nerve damage obviously. So the erections sometimes don't hold for long. So there's a lot of need to be sensitive to one another. A lot of misunderstandings can go on. He'll wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with an erection. And I go, oh gosh, no, here we go. And I've always got this sense, I've got a busy day ahead, I need my sleep. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, I've just woken up. But if I turn away from him, he feels rejected. When things aren't as readily met, when your needs aren't as readily met, you try and dampen them down. So it's hard to say that because sometimes I don't know what I've just dampened down. And for a woman, for me, I'm of a certain age, it's really hard for me to initiate things. You know, I'm brought up with the fact that a woman is maybe not the initiator, but is a responder. So to be able to initiate, I have to overcome my embarrassment a little bit. But then it's also, I'm not sure I want to do it in case he can't manage, and then it's so shaming for him. So it, yeah, it can be quite a difficult negotiation sometimes. He isn't a natural communicator, so it takes time for him to open up about it. I think talking about it's vital. I think if you don't talk about it, you'll separate. You may not separate in in your relationship, but you'll go to separate ends of the bed. You'll go to separate ends of the settee. You'll go to, you know, the barriers will come up and you'll dampen down your needs. I think touch is a communication. You know, we still have a lot of touch. We still hug, we still kiss. And, you know, that's every night, every day. Whenever we see one another, we hold hands, we walk down the street holding hands. You know, so that's a form of communication I think is maybe more powerful sometimes than words, because it can say, I still need you, I still love you, I still want to feel you, and you're important to me, and that part is vital. I remember having a follow-up appointment with an oncologist, and I brought up, would he be eligible for Viagra? And she said, yeah, not a problem, but go and see your GP. And that was a step too far. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't go and see his GP about it. Some of the appointments I was there with him because I said I was coming. I said, you've got to take me, you know. We weren't embraced as a couple where both parties were affected. The main priority was me. And of course, my main priority was him as well, you know. So it was very hard to come in. It was very hard to be seen. You know, the impact on his ability to have an erection. Would he be eligible for Viagra? And there was none of that. And I think even if there was a follow-up appointment where that was offered or discussed, well, not offered, because if it's offered, a lot of people won't take it. They'll say, no, I don't need it, that's fine. But if it was just part of the routine, let's have this kind of discussion. And for those people who want help to have that discussion, I think it would be really invaluable, because the woman's voice would be heard as well as the man's voice. And the man, I mean, I can't talk for every man, but I know for my man, it was so deeply ingrained with his confidence and self-esteem, and it was shaming for him, I think. But there was no indication of a referral being made to anybody. There was nobody asking us as a couple how things were. Treatment for prostate cancer is 2 pits. There's getting rid of the cancer, and thankfully that is, and you've got to be grateful for that. Well, you are grateful for that every day. But there is a second part to it, and that's living with the side effects. And that never stops. That's a lifelong thing. I also have to let him see my side of it as well sometimes, because he doesn't understand that. He often sees my side, if I'm maybe not in the mood, as rejection, and then there's a wee spiral goes on. But communication, but touch, I think for us, the thing that has saved us is touch, has continued, being close and intimacy. And that has been a willful act as well as an unconscious act. Both of us still do that to this day, you know. We may have issues, but we make sure we resolve them, and it's often just by a cuddle or, you know, it sounds corny, whatever, but he'll be one side of the city, but his feet's touching me, or I'm touching him, or holding hands in the city, or something like that, you know, and it's that kind of stuff. I think working out what works for you, what you as a couple need, and what you as a woman with sexual needs, with needs to feel loved, to be special, to be able to express your love, is finding the level that works for you, and don't let it go. The real benefit is, in some ways, we're closer than ever. We are, we appreciate one another more, we value one another's more, we enjoy one another's company more. We don't, you know, I can't say we don't take anything for granted, because we're always, but there'll be, something happens, it'll bring up short again, you'll think, hang on, let's get back to the simple stuff here. This is the most precious thing in the world, is just the time we have together.